Hi everybody, welcome back for this week's video, or today's video I should say. It's coming at you late, but that's going to be the theme for a hot second here. Sorry.
Well, the moment you felt you could start over new was the same that you realized the stories were true. You opened your eyes and the world you could see, it wasn't dim, it was brighter, you'd have to agree. Your fears are gone, they were buried with the dawn. And oh, now you feel alive for the very first time. Oh, now your fears are gone, they were buried with the dawn. And oh, now you feel alive for the first time. Not hold me yet, not hold me yet. No, you're not home yet. No, not home, but you finally found the way.
I am 24 weeks pregnant, and this is my baby update. Technically this is considered viability week, even though that is also technically 20 weeks depending upon who you ask. But generally, this is the accepted viability week. Also, I don't know what's with this, like, light. It's from the light, but I don't know why it's like that. Anyway, we have the baby that is the size of a large cucumber. 1.5 pound large cucumber. So, it's pretty impressive if I do say so myself. This baby has a lot of personality. She likes to sit right on my right side most of the time, not all the time. Uses the whole space. Sometimes really, really low down. Sometimes the movement's up really high. It's more frequently up high. Otherwise it's on my bladder. But when I'm feeling kicks and stuff, they're mostly up high when I feel them. Lots of movement. It is her world and everyone else is just living in it. Today we were trying to get Gabriel to tell us if we were having a boy or a girl because we were headed to the doctor for a baby appointment today, for my 24-week appointment, and he said both. So we were like, okay, good to know. One day we'll have both. I don't remember if it was last week that I told you about my whole lab situation, but I got a note on my labs a few days ago that talked about a plan of action, which, again, I'm pretty sure I talked about how stressed I was about my labs because I was like, I don't know what to do, but she must just be telling me at the appointment. She put a note on there. At the appointment today, we talked about it a little bit more, and I was like, well, based on what you said, these are the two things that I want to, like, whatever. And so one of my plans is in the morning, I'm going to try and have a peanut butter banana, like, protein smoothie thing that she asked if I could add spinach to it, so I'll try and make sure that doesn't alter the flavor. It should be fine. And then, because it's got chocolate too, so that covers up any, like, gross, weird flavor. And then also I'm going to add alfalfa powder and start putting that in there. And after I told her, like, that was my plan to start doing that, she was like, I am so proud of you. And I just was like, thank you. I needed that today. I don't know why, but I needed to hear it from someone. Because it's been stressing me out. I'm also going to try and do, I told her that I was going to try and do more of, like, grass-fed, organic ground beef in, like, different ways and different meals that I like. And I was like salads and rice, hot dishes kind of thing, but, like, keeping the ingredients cleaner, but, you know, with rice and stuff instead of with buns. And she was like, I know everyone says to, like, cut gluten, but, you know, for now, because you have... sometimes the gluten will fight with you, like, trying to, like, maintain, like, high iron and stuff. You know, it's good to get rid of it for a little bit and just see how it affects your body, if it's helping you, you know, as a general rule or not. If not, you know, that is what it is. But if it is, then it'll help so you don't have to quite eat as much extra protein or supplement or what have you. So anyhow, and then I'm on my vitamin D supplement again. I'm trying to take. That I'm going to do is set some alarm or something like that just to remind me to take it because I'm so bad at remembering to take, like, supplements and stuff like that. Otherwise, I might just add my vitamin D into my morning smoothie, like just a couple droppers of vitamin D, put in my alfalfa, all my powders and all of that with the protein stuff, drink that for breakfast, and then maybe do like eggs or something with it, and really try to like front load my morning. Because I was telling her the other thing that I was trying to do is limit, like, I want to eat all the time and I want to give myself food because that's what I need to function. But sometimes if I know all I have for a snack option is not great snacks or not great food choices, then I'll wait until I have a meal because there's healthier things in that meal, and then I'll just like eat more of that meal, or like when I'm making that meal I'll eat like ingredients of it to snack on, so that I'm forgoing the less healthy snacks and intaking more of what I'm intaking is healthier. So yeah. Anyway, that was our big thing that we talked about. And then I have my glucose test at my next appointment, which is 28 weeks. So she said eat lunch around 1 and then no more, and then don't eat until after your appointment. And for lunch, have meat and vegetables. Yeah, I think I'm going to do like green beans or something and try and do like chicken with it or something. Something like that is kind of like my thought. My diet has been a topic of conversation for my brain. There's been a lot going on lately, and I had 2 weddings over the weekend, so physically I was moving constantly for the past couple of days. And then today, I took a 2-hour nap this afternoon while Gabriel was napping, and it was so good. It was so good. It felt so nice. It's just been exhausting. It's been exhausting for the past few days. But lots of movement and everything like that. I have had this cramp in my left calf. And my midwife, because I brought it up to her, was like, well, that could be, you know, either, essentially, she's like, it will either be like, it could be an indication that, like, you're not holding onto your iron, because that can cause muscle cramps, or, you know, it's a deficiency in one of your minerals. You know, potassium, magnesium, calcium, anything like that. All those levels, except for my potassium, was a little bit on the lower end, but all those levels were really good at my last labs. So she was like, you know, we have to redraw your labs when we take your glucose test anyway. So you may as well just do these diet changes that we're talking about before we add too many supplements, because you can take all the supplements in the world and, you know, sometimes it's still not enough if you're not eating right. And sometimes you don't need the supplements if you're eating right, and you don't want to have too much because that can also cause issues. So I have magnesium gummies, so I'm going to take a magnesium gummy tonight probably. If it's still paining me, it didn't really hurt all day, except when I touch it, then it's sore. And it acted up more on Saturday than on Sunday, but on Sunday, like Saturday night, Gregory rubbed my leg for a little bit, and then on Sunday I was pretty good until like partway through, and then when I was bending down and using that muscle a little bit more, it was like, oh my gosh, okay. I was able to sit a little bit more on Sunday than on Saturday though, so that was nice. I have a wedding this weekend, so we're doing a decent amount of activity, trying to take walks every day and all that kind of stuff, and she really encouraged that I keep my activity levels up. She's like, if you're having contractions and cramping and stuff because you're moving around and when you lay down it stops, like, that's normal because you're working your muscles. But because now is where they start watching for preterm labor or like preeclampsia and all that early labor stuff. And so she's like, you know, if you're laying down or you're resting and then you have more than 6 contractions in an hour, then I have like 3 different approaches, right? Like different things that you can do to try and kind of mitigate it. Fun stuff. And then we talked about signs of preeclampsia, which I was very aware of from the last time. But it was good to have the refresher on all of that kind of stuff and just remind me of what and where and who and why and all that kind of good thing. And it's nice to be on like the upward swing. And then one thing that I wanted to ask her about was a doula, because the doula that I had last time, she just has been really busy, I'm guessing. So I hadn't been able to get a hold of her. And so I just sent her a couple messages, and then I asked my midwife if she had like any other recommendations, because I'm like, obviously if she's busy, like I don't want to bother her, but I do really want a doula. I want to have more assistance with this birth the same way I did with Gabriel, if that makes sense. And I know that like Gregory can learn that, but it's going to take a lot of time and effort from him. And I know he can do it just fine. I'm not worried about him being able to do it. It's more that having another person there that I know knows what they're talking about and can advocate for me a little bit more clearly without having the emotional ties of like, that's my wife, you know. It just is better for both of us, because it also, the doula can also advocate for Gregory, or like, hey, you obviously need to eat, like, I'll sit with her for like 20 minutes, go and eat, or do this, or whatever, because labor is hard on women. It is, but it can also be kind of emotionally draining on your partner, and if you're focused on your partner and not taking care of yourself either, because, you know, you both need energy to get through it, because you don't want to be sleeping through your kid's birth, right? Women can't sleep through it when they're the one laboring, and men can, and that's, you know, just as scary. So anyway, it's a whole thing, but it would be beneficial for us both, I think. So I asked her, and she was like, well, we have like 3 or 4 now that we're doing a whole overhaul. One of them are, you know, we're really excited to work with them and all this kind of stuff. So anyhow, and then I mentioned to her, I was like, I have always been interested in doing doula training and getting licensed. It's always been like a key interest of mine. And she was like, if you do, wait till your kids are a little older and you have more stability. Don't add that to your plate right now. And I was like, don't worry, I won't. But after I'm done working my current job with this baby, not my wedding business, but like my current job with this baby, I don't intend to go back to a traditional position unless I have to, if our circumstances change, but hopefully that won't be the case. If you're following the rest of my non-baby videos, we are very, very close. So very close to being debt-free, and we're very excited about it. So, and more completely than was our goal for this year. So it's pretty exciting. I'm very excited about it. But anyhow, you know, that's just one step into the future. Getting a house, being stable, not having to rent, that kind of stuff is also really important. So there's a lot. But right now, we're doing the best that we can with what we got. One thing that I've noticed on YouTube, because my cousin was sending me like birth blogs and stuff like that, there is a very limited number of birth center birth blogs, like the type of birth center I will be giving birth at. Because most hospitals have what's called a birthing center or a birth center in the hospital. That is not where I'm giving birth. And I just wanted to like let you guys know that this is a birth center birth. This is a separate medical space. It's a medical outpatient center. That's what it is by state definition. They have to meet regulations, standards, all that kind of stuff, but it is an outpatient center. So it is a space separate from the hospital that you're not allowed to stay in for multiple days. It's not meant to like house people in that facility, but you know, you're there as long as you need to for birth plus 8 hours after you give birth or your procedure, right? Because outpatient means a lot more than just birth. Anyhow, and then you go home. So it is a separate space from a hospital, and it is not at home. It is a birthing center, and that idea is very foreign to people. And I've just kind of come across that because, like, if you look up birth center birth on YouTube, there isn't, like, there's more there, but there isn't a whole lot. And usually when you find results, they're all attached to hospitals. They're not genuine birth centers. So it's a really hard thing to describe, but it's like a whole separate space. I didn't really show it at all with Gabriel or anything like that. You'll see it. We've decided videotaping and everything like that. We're going to have a birth photographer there and everything. So we'll get footage. You'll get to see it and you'll kind of see the difference in space. And it's so hard because I was talking to my midwife again about the whole doula thing. And she's like, it's just, we are all really burnt out because since COVID, there's this rise in desire for an alternative birthing practice. Most people wanting home births. But they also have birthing centers, right? They have 2 of them in their practice. But in the area that I'm in, besides them, like outside of them, the closest birthing center, I think, is like 3 hours away. There are a number of midwives who will do home births in the area. Not a large number, but there's a number. And some of the midwives in the practice do home birth. My midwife specifically does not, which I believe I talked about before. So those do exist in our area, but there's really no other birthing center within a couple hundred miles, and people want that alternative. Anyways, we were talking about it, and she was like, we just need to figure it out. And I mentioned to her, I was like, see, my thing is, like, you know, I'm the type of person, like, I love coming here, but I've looked in the surrounding area just because I know, like, this is the type of birth that I want. But I understand, like, if you're busy, you know, if you can't take another patient, that's not your fault. You can only do so much as a person, right? And so I've looked into other areas just because I was really worried that you wouldn't have availability for me. And she did, thankfully. But I was just like, that was like a really big concern of mine. So I looked, and there's nothing. There's just nothing that's safe or feasible for me to get to. And our birth center is still 45 minutes away. And that's the closer of the two. And the other one's an hour. So it's just one of those things where it's like, it's so hard because this alternative, very safe, regulated in our state, birthing practice is so limited. But so many people want it. The demand is so high for it right now that it's just so hard to be like, this is the birth that I want, that's safe for me to have. And there's just no availability, you know, and it sucks. That's how it is sometimes. So I'm very thankful and fortunate to be there. But we were having a whole discussion about it earlier, and she's like, I hired an admin assistant. We've been trying to do all this other stuff to just try and keep things kind of running and not overwhelming ourselves, and being able to spend more time with our patients and focus on our patients and that kind of thing, so that we don't have any dangerous situations arise. Which, you know, the forethinking and the ability to put that in and say, hey, we need to do something before there are problems, instead of encountering problems and then saying, okay, now we need to do something about it, is another thing that I really love about the midwife profession and birth center staff. I'll get off my tangent. So many birthing professionals out there, and I just wish that we'd work more harmoniously with them, especially in states where it's really well regulated, and, you know, everything is watched as closely, if not more closely, than doctors, to the point where you know you are safe beyond just the way that they practice their care, but the fact that, you know, you have assurances, just like you would with a hospital, and sometimes even more so. It's so nice to know, and it's just so sad that there isn't more out there. I wish that there's part of me that wishes that, you know, 17-year-old me who was like, I want to be a midwife, that would be so awesome, but I can't do the medical stuff, would have said, but what if I can? And tried to actually find midwife training, because I enjoy it so much. But maybe one day I'll be a doula. Who knows? Maybe that isn't my path at all. I just like birth and birth-related things. So if you have commentary about this idea or what your area looks like, I would love to have a discussion about it, because it's so... There are people that have even less ability than I do. And there are people that even just to find a decent hospital to give birth at is, you know, 2+ hours away, which is just crazy. And then, you know, in some areas, like my area, we've got like 4+ hospitals. Only one of them you can give birth at. It's so weird, because people haven't stopped having babies at the same rate that we have stopped having hospitals that offer birthing services. It's just so weird to me. And on top of that, you know, no alternatives are really available. And the alternatives that are available are few and far between, and you take on risk with them not being on your insurance and not being licensed and things like that. So it's a really interesting conversation, and I'd love to talk about it. So please let me know your experiences with this. If you'd love to know more about alternative birthing practices, birth centers in general, if you're just confused on what I mean, I will definitely talk about it more. Otherwise, let's do this thing. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe, and then hit the bell down below so you can get notifications for when more videos come out. I'm tired, but more on that in Friday's video. We'll see you next time.
Love, Genevieve.